Hi, I'm Ross and you're watching Natural Aesthetics, the YouTube channel dedicated to true drug-free bodybuilding. So just doing a voiceover on this video, no camera today. I hope you're all well and at least somewhat active over the first few days of this second lockdown. Irrespective of whether you have gym access or not, there's always something you can do to maintain or even improve your physical conditioning and mental health. So this is some footage from our chest and back training session. We're still doing the same protocol for the most part, so alternating between chest and back exercises. We combine the two together. It works really well. If you haven't ever trained chest and back together, then give it a go. I highly recommend it. We start off with deadlifts and we just do straight sets on this. About 5 or 6 sets of 3 reps, ramping up over the workout. Similar to bench press, we do no higher intensity techniques for these exercises. It's just not worth the risk. The form would break down, it would pose too much of a threat and just simply be too debilitating to recover from if we were able to reach those high intensity levels that we wanted to, that we would do on other exercises. So we just do straight sets, looking to improve the weight that we lift each week using progressive overload, and assuming we can gain body weight on a consistent basis, then the weight should go up quite nicely. If you still want to lift for too long and you're not really gaining that much body weight, then just try and eat more and just push your weight up by a kilo or so, and that'll probably help out. If you are gaining weight and the lifts are still stalling, then it's probably best to reset and ramp up again over a number of weeks. It's unwise to stay too close to the edge for too long, really struggling to hit those reps on these exercises. So after these two movements, which both went okay, really well for John. I mentioned before in the last video, he's at all-time best strength, so he's eager to kind of push forward and keep that momentum going, which is really important. When you're in a good phase and you feel like things are going your way, then make the most out of it. You've got to push forward, see what you can do. So for myself on the deadlifts, being quite conservative, just did some singles, really greasing the groove. And to be honest, I should have actually gone even lighter. If I want this back injury to heal properly. So for the squats and deadlifts, it's just greasing the groove and doing what I can until my body is ready and recovered, and then I'm able to put more intensity into that lift and really focus on progressive overload. After the first 2 exercises, we move on to chin-ups. Last week we went too heavy. I think you have to be very cautious when you use HIT techniques for back training. We discussed that certain exercises felt better than others, and chin-ups really didn't feel that good. So we decided to do straight sets. We did 3 sets, around 7 to 10 reps with 16 kilos and then 8 kilos and then body weight, using 1 or 2 forced reps each set, which worked really well. It was a good lat pump, intense but not too debilitating, and didn't affect the rest of the session. I just in general think you've got to be quite cautious with back training when using HIT principles, because it's just all too easy for the technique to change slightly, the trajectory to be altered somewhat, and more emphasis placed on certain areas like the traps and the biceps. It's sometimes hard to really isolate the lats. So I think maybe for like a seated pull-over machine or a fixed trajectory, horizontal or vertical pull down would work really well, because you don't have to worry about the form so much. There's kind of less room for error. But for compound movements like the chin-ups and the dumbbell row, which I will explain in a minute, which we changed, I think it's just all too easy for your form to break down before you reach the kind of intensity you want to for the lats. So you'll notice that I was using a palms forward grip, which is not my preferred way of doing chins. I do prefer a palms in supinated grip with a very narrow grip. That feels better for me, but because of the golfer's elbow, it's still not 100%. I just don't want to aggravate any more than I need to, hence why I'm using that grip. You lift a lot more weight as well with a supinated grip, and in general I just feel like the range of motion on the lats is a lot better. So hopefully over the next few weeks it can kind of recover completely. I can go back to doing that style of grip. So next up, just quickly move on to the dumbbell press. 50 Ks, an extra half a rep in the bag for both of us. I think probably next week we'll add that full rep, and it's a small victory. It's progress. Sometimes you might only be able to match what you did last week, but it might be a little bit easier. So yeah, you haven't got that full rep, but you just kind of biding your time. Keep on at it, and you'll hit it next week. That's the mindset you need, really. I think it's easier to use HIT techniques on the pressing. You can either kind of press it or you can't. There's less room for error in terms of the form, and yeah, you can kind of make a mess of the form, but it's a little bit harder to do than say back training. So we used some force reps on that with some slow negatives and worked really well. Great pump off that one set. So we moved on to the seal row next instead of the bent over dumbbell row, and you'll notice our form pulling up and back slightly, and this targets the lats, especially when you combine that with almost an overemphasized lumbar arch, a real tight arch of the lower back. Just hits the muscles in the lats a lot better. So you have to remember when you're training back that the line that you pull in will really emphasize or dictate the musculature that you work. So for example, like a high face pull, obviously the line is much higher, so the muscles that you train will generally be much higher. The rhomboids and upper traps and what have you. Chin ups or lat pull downs. Generally you've got more chance of working the lats and the lower lat regions because of the angle. So with either like a low row or a seal row or bent over row, the elbow position is very important to determine what area you want to train. And with the elbows coming up and back, it just hits the lats a little bit better than the upper kind of back area. Then moving on to flyers to finish. 32.5k for one set on this. Like I said before with the pressing, it's just a lot easier to get to those higher intensity levels with decent form on this. It's not quite as debilitating, so we just did the single sets on that on these exercises, and that was enough. Set to failure with a couple of forced reps in there for good measure, and that felt great. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to see more true natural bodybuilding videos, and check out my Instagram. The link is in the description box below. Also, if you haven't already, then please click that bell icon to be made aware of any videos I upload automatically. Stay strong.